Do you want to be able to bring your dog places like going to a restaurant or even on vacation? Traveling in crates, especially crash-rated crates, are the safest option for your dog, but sometimes it takes a little bit of training until your dog's really comfortable. When we get our back hatched and these crate doors open, our dogs can't wait to jump inside. They love being inside. And once they're inside, they just sleep quietly until we reach our destination. It's peaceful, it's safe, and there's no distracted driving. I'm Chelsea with Positive Futures Dog Training and Behavior, and I want to help you get this nice, peaceful car crating just like we have. Let's take a look. To get started, get your crates set up somewhere comfortable in your main living space. I like to remove the doors from the crates to prevent any excess from potentially bumping into the dog and freaking them out. Then I like to work on starting to train in and outs. Toss a treat into the crate, click when all 4 feet are inside, and drop another treat in. You can encourage the dog to then exit the crate either using a hand target, click and toss the treat away, or even just using a free and tossing a treat. Repeat this process until moving in and out of the crate becomes comfortable. You'll start to notice your dog picking up speed as they move towards the crate, and eventually they won't even need that treat tossed into the crate to get them started. Lucy already has lots of positive associations built with her crate, so she moves through this process quickly. Remember that you need to take this at your dog's own speed. Work in mini sessions of 3 to 5 minutes, a couple times a day. Once your dog easily enters the crate on their own, with just you standing next to it and no prompting, that's your cue that you're ready to move on to the next step. The next step is going to be asking your dog for a down. So now we want them to enter the crate, and we'll use a visual signal to guide the dog into a down position for them to earn that click and treat. Just like before, you can use a treat toss, the verbal cue free, or even a hand target to get your dog to exit the crate between repetitions. We want to make sure that this starts to become their new norm, to enter the crate and lay down to earn that reinforcement. When it's easy for your dog to lay down and remain calm, then it's time to put the doors back on. Once we put the doors back on, I want to make sure that I can go back to the basics and make sure the dog is comfortable and not worried about that door being present. So we do a quick warm-up of in and outs, and then we go back to the in with the down for the reinforcement. After that, then it's time to work on getting the door closed. You want to make sure that you watch the dog's body language carefully here. If the dog starts to shift, tries to get out of the crate, or backs away or licks their lips, these are all signs of stress. This indicates that I might be moving too quickly and want to make sure that I break down the process of closing the door into lots of small pieces where the dog can remain successful. When the dog is comfortable with the door all the way closed, we want to start to add a little motion. This will be much easier if your dog already has some positive associations with a crate, like one in the bedroom. With the door closed, add some distractions by walking around the space. Periodically mark and reward quiet and calm behavior and return to the dog to pay them. This can easily be tied into your normal routine. For example, if you are folding laundry nearby the crates. In the beginning, I recommend that you keep these sessions short and positive. You want to end while the dog is on a good note versus waiting for one more repetition and causing stress. 3 to 5 minutes a couple times a day is plenty. And if you keep these crates located somewhere central, it will be easy for you to do a couple mini training sessions throughout the day. During these training sessions, it's also a great idea to check and see how your dog is feeling about it. Open the crate door and let the dog come out and see if they want to try to reinitiate with the crate. If they move back in towards the crate, it means that they're ready for another session and they were enjoying it. So feel free to do a couple more minutes of practice. If the dog walks away or offers something else, don't stress too much, but I definitely wouldn't recommend doing another mini session. Walk away and give your dog a short break before trying again. With the crates centrally located, and after a few practice sessions, you might find your dog relaxing in their crate all on their own. This is definitely a behavior that you want to capture and reinforce them for. So try to be mindful and keep treats in a treat jar nearby or even in a pocket so that you can quickly capture with a yes and drop a treat. This is a nice way to reinforce this offered behavior and continue to boost those positive associations with the crate. Now that the dogs are relaxing on their own and going in and out on cue and relaxing with a little duration, it's time to get those crates into the car and start making sure the dog can maintain that behavior while the crate is inside the vehicle. You'll want to make sure that you secure the crates to the vehicle for safety purposes. If you need a little more assistance on your car setup, I think you'll like this video pinned to the top here. This next step does assume that your dog has a verbal cue for getting into the car or into the crate. If your dog doesn't have that, make sure you start there. If your dog needs to be picked up, you'll also need to have a pickup cue ready to go. To start, we're going to ask our dogs to get into the crate. And this is a really good sign of low stress and them being eager to play along. I remove the leash, reinforce the dog, and then I'm going to close the door. We're going to do the same thing that we did inside with the door closed by walking around and adding a little bit of motion, a little bit of distraction, all while building duration with the crate. I'm looking for the dog to remain relaxed, ideally in a down position and quiet, free of any vocalization. I'm periodically going to mark with a clicker or a verbal yes and return to the dog for payment. As the dog does well, you want to slowly increase the amount of time that the dog is inside the crate. After a short session, we want to gauge how the dog is feeling by giving them a quick break. I open the door and clip the leash and let them come out of the car. If your dog is young or they're small, make sure that you pick them up to avoid too much impact on their bodies. After a quick break, I give my cue for the dog to get into the crate again to see if he's ready to go. After an eager reply of yes by jumping in the crate, this lets me know he's ready for another repetition. So we do the same game again, closing the door and adding a little bit of duration and distraction as I move around, periodically clicking or saying yes and returning for the treat. Keep sessions short here, 3 to 5 minutes at a time, and feel free to allow your dog a little play break or even a sniff break between these mini sessions. As your dog does well, you want to slowly start increasing the difficulty. So I might work on closing the hatch and reinforcing them. I might even sit in the car and turn the car on, but we go nowhere. If your dog is a little worried about the crate still or a little worried about the car, feel free to offer some kind of food enrichment or activity to keep them busy while they're inside this crate. The goal is for them to build positive associations here. So I want to avoid making the sessions too long. If you're noticing any vocalization, pawing, or a lot of shifting of weight, go back a couple steps. We really want to make sure that this crate means relaxation. So we want that quiet, calm, down behavior so that we can reinforce more of it. You can also start taking your dog for quick trips around the block. Driving to a local park that's just a couple minutes away is a great way to start reinforcing in their minds that getting in this crate and in the car leads to fun places. Go for a nice walk or a little sniffy walk, even do some training at a local park so that your dog starts to build those positive associations. If your dog is avoiding the car completely, bring the crate back inside and keep working on that separately. In addition, I recommend that you work on a little bit of approach and retreat. Take a couple steps towards the car, click and treat your dog, and then say, okay, and walk the other direction. We don't want to force them to go near the car, but we do want them to know that good things happen as they approach. When your dog is comfortable enough to be in proximity of the car, start working on some tricks like a hand target, targeting the car, even paws up in the car. This way, again, they're building those nice positive associations with this space while you're working on conditioning the crate separately. Once your dog is finally comfortable and they're working on paws up, you can start lifting their butt or even getting all 4 feet inside the car and reinforcing them. Once you have a nice, easy, simple approach and they're getting in the car, go back to this step of working on the crate. We want our dogs to love being inside the crate in the car. It makes travels for races, competitions, and even just trips to the vet or the park so much less stressful for you and for the dog. So make sure you take the time necessary to build those foundations nice and strong so that you've got some easy car rides ahead. Happy training!